Do you look in the mirror sometimes and wonder, what the heck happened? How did I get here? I was supposed to be so much further down the road. You're wondering, well, if I'm so talented, if I'm so good at this, if I'm so unique and special, how come I'm not where I think I should be? Well, you're not alone. We've all been there. I've been there. And through the many years of my experience, I have engulfed myself, immersed myself in the personal and professional development space, a master practitioner and trainer of neurolinguistic programming. I was on the road with Tony Robbins for many years, so I've seen it on both sides. I've needed that extra support. I've been told how talented and creative and how successful I would be, and found myself stuck, found myself in places that I couldn't believe I was there, that I should have been further. Now, in order to make these shifts, make these changes, we can't just put a Band-Aid on it. This isn't a Band-Aid conversation, because we all feel like we've been driving towards our goals. Maybe you feel like this. You're driving towards your goals. You've got your GPS, you've got your vision board, you've got everything moving, so you think, and then you look around and people are passing you by. It's as if you're running on empty. Now, in order for you and I to really succeed, to take our lives to the next level, there's really only three things we could control. Three things that we can control that you and I can get back on track to supercharge, turbocharge our experience in life, right? We've got our three things. We got our fuel, right? That emotional fuel. We've got our roadmap, right? The GPS, where are we going? How are we getting there? And then our BS. Your BS is getting in the way. Yes, you are full of BS. Now that would be your belief system, right? Or your narrative. Now let's zoom in on the fuel a moment. Let's really just get deep into that fuel, because we could have the greatest roadmap. We could have the strongest belief system, and yet not get anywhere because we don't have the fuel, or we have crap fuel, which is why we're moving so slowly. So let's dive into a major component of that fuel, and that would be our inner critic, right? The inner critic. And what's that inner critic? Well, that's the little voice in your head that you may have allowed other people to install, right? Maybe these are declarations, questions. Maybe these are frameworks. Maybe these are words that other people had shared, but they're in there. Now, how are we going to tackle it? Let's talk about that. So we only have three things from there too. Like, there's two things in threes. First step is awareness, right? Ignorance is not bliss. It's not. So we've got to shine light on the issue. We've got to raise awareness, because ignorance is pain. And it may not be like harsh pain necessarily, but it's that undercurrent of pain. It's perhaps the bumpy road, or the lack of getting the results. But then we could look at how we allow ourselves to ignore that, and that's what we do in our trainings. But first step is awareness. We've got to get aware that there is that inner dialogue. And what is it saying? What is that inner dialogue saying? Now, next, we've got to interrupt that old pattern, right? What is that pattern? It's repeating it. I shared a little bit earlier, as a master practitioner and trainer of neuro-linguistic programming and board certified in neo-Ericksonian hypnosis, I really spent decades understanding how our mind works, and how do these patterns show up, and how to do something about it. Yet some of these are so innocuous, you don't even recognize they're happening. So we really got to get in and interrupt some, what may seem to be a small, what's a big deal issue, which is really at the core, at the root of our challenges. You are where you are based on the patterns that you've been running. So in order to change the results that you're going to experience, you've got to change the patterns. In order to change the patterns, you first got to be aware of them. right? Does that make sense so far? Of course. The third step here, number 3, we've got to install a new pattern. We've got to install a new pattern, because once we take that old pattern out, if we don't consciously install a new pattern. Now, by the way, let's back up a little bit. These patterns that you and I have, everybody's got them. They're really the other than conscious patterns, which is why I've spent so much time working in the human consciousness realm and the other than conscious realm, wondering, how do we have these thoughts? How do they get there? And how do we do something about them? How can we change them? Because those patterns that are running are other than conscious. They're what's driving the car. And I know you and I, we think like, oh, no, I'm in control. I make these decisions. And yes, and those decisions, those patterns that you and I are running other than consciously get actually installed other than consciously and consciously. Now, when we take control, then we can consciously install the pattern versus other than conscious installation, because nature abhors a vacuum. So we've got to fill that space with a new habit, a new pattern that's going to propel us forward rather than keep us stuck or keep us status quo. But status quo is still falling behind, because there is no such thing as status quo. We're either moving ahead or we are falling behind. Now, of course, this is easier said than done, isn't it? I've been where you are. I've been there. Man, it took me years of hard, deep investment in both time, energy, money, to really learn how we communicate so effectively. And I've been now working in this field for decades. But I remember a time when I was either pissed off or depressed. That was kind of it. Those are my two fuels, neither of which are very powerful in getting somewhere positive. It can get you in a lot of trouble, I'll tell you that much. I have been in a lot of that too. So how do we tap into that? You can go the long way, which is take your time, do your investigation. If you're watching this, I know you're on the path. I know we're kindred spirits, and continue doing it. This is fantastic. I still do it. So I'm always, yes, investing that time and energy. And in order for you and I to speed it up, what we could do is dive in a little bit deeper, get even more granular. So what I'd love to do is figure out ways to help you. Now, you could go to freedomhacknow.com. That's freedomhacknow.com. And there's a free training there for you. That's the 3 keys to freedom. And this will give you a great high level. It's going to give you some great content, some information that you can immediately apply and get some results. Or if you want to really supercharge it, you want a rapid transformation session, give me a message, reach out to me, and let's see how we can speed up your process, how we could dig in, find some of these patterns. And by the way, once you find that one, sometimes that one clicks and everything starts opening up. Everything starts flowing, because then you start building that momentum. Think of your other than conscious mind sometimes like a modem to a computer. Let's use that. And it's connecting to your higher power. And this is a really important part of getting deeper into this work. But let's imagine for a moment, the other than conscious mind has some clicks in it, right? There's some connections, and everything about my world is about connections, about relationship, our relationship with our other than conscious mind, with ourselves, our relationship with others, our relationship with God, all of that. So let's imagine that there's remember with the modem or your computer, right? Maybe, oh, there you go. That's an even better example. So you got your computer, right? You've got the box, right? Which is, I guess, could be you, which is your conscious mind. And then there's all these patterns going on inside the computer. And funnily enough, before I made this video, I had to go in and do a small tweak in the other than conscious. There was something going on with the microphone, the clock speed, doesn't really matter, the technology behind it, but it was not right. The button, there's like a little button that needed to be changed to another thing. And it didn't mean that I just turned something off or on. And in this case, it was changed. I had to move it from one figure to another figure. Now, That at first seemed like a very quick fix, and boom, got to do it. But it took me, not today, but in general, when I found this happen, it took me a while to figure it out. Right. But now that I know it, I can help you. If you call me with the same problem, I go, boom, here's what you do. And you go, boom, 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 get it done, fixed. Now we're back on track. So if you're looking to get back on track, if you're looking to speed that healing up, you got your two choices. Go to Freedom Hack now and go through the free training, the 3 keys to freedom, or reach out to me and let's get on the horn. And if you've got some questions, let's see how that we can get you back to your super speed, back to your divine purpose. I look forward to serving you. God bless you.